Okay, so welcome to lesson 5 of the basic Android development using Cordova. And currently, we ended with the coding of the mockup design using HTML5, Bootstrap, and jQuery. That was on lesson 4. So what we'll be doing in lesson 5 is to uh, focus more on Ajax and PHP, so that using the form that we created on our app, we'll be able to submit the data through that web app to our database. Okay, and that is also accessible by our Yi application or Yi project that we created on the Yi PHP framework training. Okay, so as you can see here, we already has at least 4 lessons in the basic Android app development. I guess we're going to do lesson 5 and lesson 6 that will complete our basic Android application development using Cordova. So let's proceed. First up, we need to check the our table on our Yi project last time, because we need the column names for our Ajax and of course our PHP. Okay, so right now what we're going to do is we're going to need to enhance our form before we add our Ajax and PHP files. So let's go back to our index.html. Then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to need to label our inputs. Okay, we're going to add a name attribute for our input fields in our Android app project, and we will base it on our Yi project column names. Okay, this would make it easier for us in the long run. So we have added the first name on our first name input field. Next is the last name. Next is a username. Next is password. We're going to add a name for our select, right? For our select tag or drop down, to add it as sex. Then for our bio, our text area, we have a name for this, will be bio. Okay, and we're going to save it. Okay, so that's done. Just need to maximize this one. Of course, our Chrome. So now from here, we need to change this form button type submit into a button. Okay, and we're going to add a on click attribute so we can add our function. Okay, we're going to call our function as upload create new user, then open close parenthesis. Okay, and let's save this. Okay, from here I have clippets of my code from my previous project so that it would be easier for us to include the functions that we needed. So we gotta go here, this one. This is the function that we're going to use. We're going to modify this along the way. Going to go to index.js. Okay, index.js. Okay, if you can recall, this is the index.js is actually inside our JS folder. Okay, then from here we're going to paste our new function here, right? So as you can see, it's add new user, but in our index.html, I think it was create new user, right? So we're going to highlight and copy this one. Then we go to back to index.js, then paste it. Okay, so that the button is connected to this function. And from here, going to the same we did on the show page, going to enclose this with the jQuery function syntax. Okay, then of course a next step to that is that we need to declare the container of the data. Okay, the container of the data of the form into this variable. Okay, so this is a var. That means we're telling the JavaScript or jQuery that this word data is actually a variable. Okay, and using the syntax new form data, that means that the form that where we're going to get our data is from the user form, this one, user form or user ID. Okay, user ID, right? If you go let's say vertical split, I'm going to open our index here. And drag it to the right. Okay, so here. Okay, so we're telling our jQuery that we are, when we run this function create new user, or call this function create new user, we're going to store the data from the input fields and the select element and the text area to store it in this data variable. Okay, it's a container. Okay, so and then after that we ended up with bracket and 0. Okay, Let's check if we have a okay, so what we did is a shorthand version of this one. Okay, pretty direct. Okay, and from there this is the actual Ajax code, okay, or syntax, where we can either post or get the data. Post, that means uploading the data or sending the data, while get is retrieving data from a source. Okay, so currently we don't have the URL yet because we're going to create the PHP file for that. And of course, since we're adding new user to the database, the type is post, and of course asynchronous. This is set to false, and because we wanted that the data needs to be completely sent before it proceeds to do the other functions. Okay, that's why you're using async. Okay, async. Let me go with that. Ajax async. Okay, so okay, you see, setting async to a false means the statement you are calling has to complete before the next statement can be called. Okay, so it simply says there that it needs to upload all the data first before it does other functions, especially on the success syntax here. Cache is false, so that each time we call Ajax, it will clear all the cache, so no old data will be sent, and data that you're going to send will be coming from this variable. Okay, and process data false, content type false. Okay, pretty standard. Okay, then from here, on the success, what we need to do here is that after the uploading of data is successful, we're going to do these functions here. Okay, which is F in else if statement. Okay, just to check if the data was stored on the database successfully. That means the script here in the URL that we're going to create must inform us that we have successfully or data upload failed, so that we can provide feedback to our user on the app. Okay, so we're going to add another divider here at the top of the form. We're going to say add a class, right? Class. Then let's say status, and we're going to copy this as well, and we're going to place it at the bottom of the form here. We're using class because you want that status to appear either at the top or at the bottom of the form. Okay, and from here on our index.js, we're going to change this to dot status. Okay, so that whatever message that we have will display on top of the bottom, top or the bottom of the form. And if the data status is success, we can also paste this code here, and using double quote, because we want to insert a notification informing our user that upload of new user is successful. So let's say we can new user added successfully. Okay, and in jQuery, this whole syntax here, $, okay, and double quote, then the name of the class, okay, the class name, okay, that HTML is a function, okay, it's a function that will insert these words here inside the status divider. That means it will insert the words here. Okay, similarly, like here in the when you give an error, it will do the same, but then it will get the error from the PHP file that we will create. Okay, so actually what will happen here is that when we pull the data from the server or the database, PHP will convert that data into a JSON file that is readable by these codes. Okay, because JavaScript or jQuery has and of course HTML5 has already support to JSON file that it can read that code. Okay, and of course here Usually we'd add this return false if we don't want that our page will refresh after we press the submit button. Okay, or at this time the button, yeah, submit button. Okay, now let's add the URL. But before that, we're going to create a PHP file first. Okay, so we're going to go to our C drive, then exam htdocs, and we're going to ye3 project, and from here what we can do is to add a PHP folder here. Then we're going to add 3 files here, right? We're going to rename these 3 files. Actually, only 2 files we're going to rename. After we paste it in this PHP folder under ye3 project. Our add story, we're going to rename this as create new user. Then all story, we're going to rename this as get all users, and the config, well, of course it may retain as config, right? We're going to open this now, and from here we need to configure this file that we can access the users table under the ye2db directory. Okay, and currently we're using MySQLi already, so we won't have any problem with latest codes for MySQL. So db user, we're going to place this as root. Password, we can leave it blank for now. And db name, of course, this is, you can see e2db 2db. Okay, save that, and we're going to open the get all new users first. Okay, what we're going to do right now is no split, and from here what we're going to do is try to explain how this code works. So of course PHP starts with the opening PHP tag and close tag. Then from here we added an error reporting error parse code. That means it will ignore all error when using this PHP script. After that, we are setting our default time zone, which is Asia and Hong Kong. Okay, so that no matter what time zone of the MySQL server that you have, it will still check for the Asia and Hong Kong time zone. And next, we're also using header with access control allow origin. Thus, as this code is so that our app can fetch data from your server without having trouble with domain issues, because usually in PHP, in one server and you're accessing on that server some content, the codes or file that trying to access that server must reside on that same domain, right? Or the IP of the public IP of that server. So if we're going to fetch from a different domain source, like from the cell phone to your MySQL database using PHP, it won't allow it usually when there are other domains, right? So but by using the header access control allow origin, it would allow other domains to access the database in that table. And of course, we're going to set the header again. As you can see here, content type is JSON and char set is UTF-8. Okay, so at least it has the same char set with your app. And we're going to and of course this line here informs the file, the PHP file, that we're going to display a JSON file of the data that we're going to get from the server. Okay, and after that, we're going to include the config.php, because the config.php will try to communicate to the database and access that database and the table and all its tables, right? So it needs to be included. Of course, we're going to set the MySQL I character set to UTF-8. Okay, and after that, we're going to declare a PHP array variable here. So my array $sign my array is an array. Okay, this variable is an array. Okay, then from here we're going to use an F statement. Okay, F statement that we're going to select all data all data, select all data, this asterisk is all data, from that users table in the order by the date created in descending order. Okay, but for now, making it simple, we're going to delete this one. I'm just going to get all data from users. Okay, and this command of the MySQL query command will be stored to a $result variable, so that we can reuse this command when we fetch the data from database. Okay, so the next line here, while we query all data from the users, because this is the result, and the content of this is this code. We will fetch arrays. Okay, in MySQL ASOC. Let's do a quick search for this. Okay, so you can see my SQL fetch array will fetch each row of the table as an associative array or a numeric array, or both. But then what we did is MySQL ASOC, that means we're going to fetch that row in the table as an associative array. Associative array, that means per row. Example, here you have the columns, right? You have the columns and the rows here, right, in the table. So if you say that you're going to fetch each row and turn it into associative array, that means how it will be displayed as a JSON would be this first row, right, where ID is equal to 2, where first name is equal to Fritz, where the last name is equal to Wele, where username is equal to Ifwele, and so on and so forth. Okay, and it will move to the next row with the same type of format or file association. But then in how it is represented is that it will group each row into one bracket, okay, or parentheses. Then it will separate them by a comma. Okay, it will do the same until it finishes reading all the database, all the contents on the database. Okay, so that it would be easier for you to get the files later, because if it is a JSON file, when you get a data from a JSON file, all you need to do is check for the ID, first name, last name, username, password, sex, bio, column names on each row. Okay, either by checking a single a unique data, example an ID, to get only the data from that row. Example, I'm going to get the name, first name of that row where ID is equals to 2. So that means it's going to only show you Fritz's name, right? If you're going to say, I'm going to need to get the username where ID is equals to 3. Okay, 3. So it's going to give you Jones, and so on and so forth. Okay? So that is how the this line here of code is doing. Okay? Or going to do. And after that, because we are using while statement, while is telling the PHP or the PHP file or the server that I'm going to get all the rows until there is nothing left to be retrieved, going through all the rows. Okay, after it completes the reading all the rows here, it's going to move to the next line. Okay, most of the time in web development, the machine or the system is reading line by line. Okay, unless there's a call of a function in between. But then of course that's on another topic. Okay, now what will it be doing is that from here I'm going to get each row, right? And that I'm going to store that data from each row here into an array. Okay, it's going to store it on this array, this container. Okay, the way if you can recall, as I said earlier, it's a each row will be contained in a bracket separated by comma. Okay, so that it would be easier to parse. Okay, to read. Parse is reading, right? And from after that, what's going to do is it's on the next line here, I already got the data, right? I already stored it on the my array variable. So using echo, that means print, going to show it on the page, the JSON version of that array, because I'm going to encode it as a JSON file, so that the Ajax function that's calling this file, get all users.php, will be able to read those file from the database, and Ajax will be able to do whatever you want it to do. Okay, then after that, we're going to close the result. Query, because we're not going to use it anymore. And of course, we're going to close the my SQLi query, because we use that to access the database. So we're going to close that connection, and we'll be left with the data of the users table. So I think we're good here. I hope you're able to follow this. Let's save this, and we're going to test this manually for now. So at least we know that it is going to work. Okay, so from the local host, then ye3 project, we're going to go to the PHP folder that we created earlier. Then we go to get all users.php. Okay, copy this, just open Notepad for you to see it clearly. So this is where we're going to, right? Localhost ye3 project php get all users. Then let's press enter. Let's recheck the code because it didn't display any data. Go to config. Let's go back to the okay, let's check if there is an error. What we're going to do is going to comment the error reporting first, because we want to know if something went wrong, right? So it says here that the use of undefined constant by ASOC assumed in line 10. Okay, there's an error for that in line 10. Let us do a quick check on our database of users. Yes. Let's just check because sometimes there's an issue with PHP and based on the version. Oh, sorry. We're missing MySQLi. Let's try this again. Okay. So that's it, right? Because we're using MySQLi already, so there was an error on the syntax. Okay. And we're going to uncomment the error reporting. I'm going to refresh this. Oh, here it is. So now, as you can see, I don't know if we can make this one bigger. As you can see, as I said earlier, so this is the bracket separated by comma. Okay. Because there's only 3 rows there. So this is what associative array looks like. So in each array container, we associated the column names to its value based on each row. Okay. Okay, so that's it. This is good. It's working. Now what we're going to do next is we move to the next file, which is the let's just check. Need to close this one. The create new user. Okay, from here we're going to go with the one that I already have a sample here. I'm going to copy this one and just delete the previous content, this, because we want it to be easily read. Okay, it's easier for you to read the code. Okay, so from here we do the same. In this file, this is the create new user.php file. We do the same, reporting, daytime zone, and header access origin, access control allow origin. This is the same with the get all users.php. Here please ignore this one first. Well, of course we included our config.php, our header for generating the JSON, the character set. Okay, we're going to need to add a variable containers here, because this script create new user.php will insert the data from the form that we had from the web app to our database. So all those, if you can recall here, the index.html, all data from these input fields, we need to create a variable where we're going to temporarily store the data before we insert it on the database. So as you can see, what we're going to do here is that we're going to create a variables. Okay, to make it simple, let's do this. Let's do it like this. We're going to base it on, again, the column names, right? Okay, of the users table, so that you won't get lost. Okay, I'll do the same with the last name. Username. The password. Okay, we for PHP, as you can see, main difference when you create a variable or container is that it starts with a dollar sign, while in JavaScript or in JavaScript or jQuery, um, there is no dollar sign. And of course, we have sex. And for the bio, we're going to reuse this one. Okay. And from here, we're going to use post. These are basic syntax for PHP. Okay, so it is how it is designed, the language. We're going to repeat the name process, because we're going to need to place the name of each input table here. Sorry, input fields. And don't forget to put a delimiter at the end of each line, okay? Because it will send an error if there is no terminator, something like that. Okay, so you need to add the semicolon. And username, and password, and sex, bio, should be bio, okay. We're done with that. Let's maximize this one. Okay, and using the SQL insert code or syntax. Okay, this code, insert into users table. We're going to change this one to first name, because we need to specify the columns in correct order. Where we're going to insert the data from the form to our database, right? Then bio. Okay, then from here, as you can see, these are PHP syntaxes as well. Okay, we're going to type in first name, then last name, username. So it brackets make it easier for us to add our variables. Okay, then last is bio. Okay, so that is the correct columns and the actual variable. Okay, so successors insert into users. We indicated the columns where we're going to add the data and its values. Okay, then of course the results were also created an array where our status will be stored. Okay, this is an array, the results. Then now if else statements. Usually I didn't discuss it earlier. If else statements, actually it's a okay, are conditional statements. Okay, so that it will only do after verifying something that is based on your condition. If you are familiar with Excel, you might have used it before. If else statements, like if there's a duplicate, then do this. Okay, so these are actual syntax of this, right? If and else, so it will only do one output based on your condition. So from here, MySQL query SQL is a syntax that we're going to execute this insert function. So if it successfully inserted the data, since it's checking here that this line of code has successfully inserted the data to the database, so it's asking if it's true, then we can say that our status, our array, in this array, we would say that its status is success. Okay, we can delete this, the next line. But if it isn't, then what it will do is set status equals to an error, and the result, or the error notification would say failed adding to database, and that array, this one, will be encoded into the JSON and will display on the page, right? And it will be read by our Ajax. Okay, now this one, the bio HTML entity decode, what it will do, let's check. is convert HTML entities to their corresponding characters. That means there might be a special character that is added on the bio, so it will convert that into ASCII characters. Okay, if you remember the ASCII characters, and it will do that for you. Okay, now we're going to go to, of course, we're going to close the query. I think this one's done already. Then let's go to our index.js. Okay. Wait, let me go back a bit. Okay. I'm just reviewing the codes that we reused. Okay. And I think we're okay already. Here we just need to indicate the location of the file. Okay. So usually we will use http://localhost/ let me get that specific, this one, eproject.php /php / create new user .php. Okay. It's because we have a Apache server in MySQL server, and the way we access this file, create new user, will be similar to the way we get the data or tested getting the data from the database using the getAllUsers.php. Okay, and later when we're going to create the Android app, we need to change the localhost word into the actual IP address of the server or the computer that is online. I mean, even though there's no internet, but then it's running, that Apache is running and MySQL is running, so that the app can communicate to that server. Okay. But for now, since we're running it to the same machine, we have this link here. Okay, so we need to test this out. So expect that we might debug this again. So let's open the the index.html, this one, and from here let's just refresh this one, go to our form. We're going to try to add a sample data like Sir Jericho Dizon, then JDizon, and password would be JDizon, example. Mail, then we're going to set it to test. bio, and we will try to submit it. Okay, so as you can see, it says here at the bottom, new user added successfully. Okay, I think the this notification wasn't seen at the top because I think it's under here. Okay, so we're going to check our database here, refresh this one. Yes, we successfully added Sir Jericho's JSON data. As you can see on the get all users PHP, we're going to go to the database here, browse. Yes, Sir Jericho's data is added. And if we go to our Yi project, okay, this is the back end, no? As you can see, if you're thinking about it, this is our back end. We successfully added Sir Jericho's data. Okay, we got it here. And this is it. And so it works, right? It works. So what we're going to do now is that we need to use the get all users .php file and display this data on your home. Okay, on your home. What we're going to do now is copy this function, paste it here. We're going to change this function to get all users, and the same, we're going to copy the function title and place it here, get all users. Let us check if we set it correctly. Yeah, get all users. Okay, and we're going to modify this one. We're going to remove the data here, and we're going to the type, we're going to choose get, going to remove the data attribute of Ajax, and remove the process data, and we have to set the content type into JSON. Okay, and from here I'm going to remove this one first. Okay, so this would be our function in getting the data from the database using the get all users .php. This data from the get all users PHP file that is showing you right now is actually a JSON file. So what we're going to do is parse it and display it on the home page. Okay, this is go to home here, we're going to display it here. Okay, so we need to modify the home. Go back to index.html, look for the home here, home. Okay, we're going to insert data here, right? So let's go back to index.js, and what we're going to do right now is we need to create a array where we're going to parse data, store it on an array, and display it on the home. Okay, so let's say var, okay, variable, then we're going to do string var is equals to array. Okay, that is a shorthand version of that. From that, we're going to use for conditional statement. Okay, for then var going to say var I equals to 0, where I is less than the length of the data. We're going to increase the value of data or increment the data by 1. That means this variable I, from 0 it will go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how many arrays is on the data. Okay, it, because it is a JSON, as you can see here, this one is a one group, second group, third group, and fourth group. So we're expecting four loops. Okay, 4 times that it will do around. Okay, for that JSON file, and get the data of each row. Okay, and from here what we're going to do, let's just do a simple sample first, right, before we make it before we customize it. So what we're going to do is call the array that we declared earlier. Then we're going to do a plus equals. That means it will add content to the array. Okay, so that it won't replace the content of that array. And what we're going to do, I'm using a single quote here because we can use double quote later, especially if we're declaring attributes, because this variable can hold HTML elements. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create a divider. Okay, and from here we added a double quote again, and do a plus sign, because in JavaScript this is how you concatenate. Now if you're familiar with Excel, again, concatenate a variable with a actual HTML, or what do you call this, actual set of syntaxes to a variable. Okay, so that you can get the content of that variable and place and add it on the actual elements. Okay, example, we're only use a few of the data. Okay, so we're going to get the variable from the data, then of course we're going to point it based on the incremental I variable, then period, then we need to declare which column name. Okay, like first name. Okay, then we're going to add another variable from the JSON file, but as you can see, I added a actual space here so that when we concatenate two variables from the JSON file, like the first name and the last name, it would have a space in between. Okay, now after that, we're going to move out of the loop. This is just basic. Okay, and we're going to store the value of the string var array to the home divider. Okay, to the divider where ID is home. Okay, so if you can see, we will insert the string var array values that we generated from the JSON to the home divider. Okay, or the divider where ID is equals to home. Okay, there's no customization from here yet. Okay, so go back to index.js. Okay, so what this for loop will do is that, similarly to the PHP we did earlier, when we get the data from the database and converted it to JSON, it will do the same here. It will go through all the data from our JSON file generated by this get all users.php script by row, and it will only get the first name and last name and display it on the home page. Okay, now we need to call the get all users function when we load our app. And how do we do that? We're going to introduce a document ready. Okay, document ready is a jQuery script, okay, jQuery script, in which it won't run the functions or script inside the document ready until the page has loaded everything that it needs to load, like its style, the CSS, the jQuery libraries, the bootstrap, and etc. So can do this here. As you can see here as well, the one we're using earlier was a shorthand for document ready, okay? This one, but then it is contained on a function, so it wouldn't run unless you call the function name, okay? So here we're going to paste document ready, and what we're going to do is copy the get all users function name, paste it inside the document ready, and terminate it with a semicolon, and have it and save it. Now let's refresh our page here. Okay, let's check if there's a problem. Failed to load resource because as you can see, it has blocked our course, okay, policy, because of it is not allowed. Okay, let's check for the get all users here. I think it's already set. Because we can let's check again. Let's try to set this one in false. I don't know if it has an effect. Okay, here we go. I had to change the content type to false, okay, because it seems a bit strict. Now as you can see, some of the data, I guess, is at the top, okay. So what we can do is let's check. We can add padding to home. We go to the CSS, okay, CSS index.css. We go to home. Okay. Here it is. I need to use this one to have a padding of that at home, right? But I think it would be much better. But let me refresh. Okay. Okay, here it is. As you can see. Is if we can add another container. Okay. Let's go back to what we're going to do is we're going to add a different container here, and let's call this user data. Okay, and this is where we're going to place the content. Let's go back to index.js, then we go with here. Then if we go back to the index.css, going to add the okay, we remove the padding and place it here. Okay, so let's check. Still the same, right? Okay, so from here what we're going to do is that we're going to add a modify the CSS. Okay, I'm going to do it like this. In padding, actually you can add different pixels based on 4 areas. You have your top. Okay, I would say top, bottom, left, right. Right. Let's test this. Let's test this code first. Okay, we're going to top with 80 pixel, then 20 px, bottom is 100 px, then 20 px. Okay, then what we can do is we can change the background color to white, I guess, for readability. So we're customizing it right now. Fresh. Okay. You can see that. We can also set the height to 100%. But of course, if you set this one to 100%, if there are more data, that means you won't be able to scroll. Okay, so what we can do is, let's say we set it to min height. Okay, so that it can expand beyond 100% height. Okay, then from here we can do other stuff with the get all users, right? We can say string var equals, we're going to add a title, okay? Going to use a header tag h4, okay. We're going to do or heading tag, heading. I'm going to use E3 project users, okay. Then let's okay, since it's looping because we included in 4, it's going to add 4 times, right? 1 for each loop. So we're going to transfer it outside the loop. Going to refresh this. Okay, that's it, right? And of course we want it to be centered, so we're going to use the bootstrap class name text center, okay. And if you want to add more distance between the names or a divider, we can use horizontal line. Let's check this one out, okay. Or you can add it on the before the dev starts, okay, or within the dev if you wanted to. Okay, still the same. Okay, so you have that, okay. You can add more data if you want. There's username, age, and bio. So that means we can sorry I said username, age and bio, right? So you can add it here, use a break, okay. Then we can separate that line of code, add string var plus y, so that means we can add more data in between the close and open div, okay, close and open div. And what we're going to do is going to add data that I, then period, then bio, then add plus sign here so we can add a line break and close it with a semicolon. We'll do the same with sex, okay, but we're going to add a label, right? Label, then just add a colon here, then sex, copy and paste it here. Like biography. Okay, and let's refresh this one. So we have that one. So each time you update the data on the PHP framework system that you have, it will automatically display on the app or the web app. Okay, so actually in the app right now we're only able to add new user and get the users, right? Okay, just to simplify things a bit, actually you can also do another form so that you can update the data via the app later. Okay, and we can also do a delete, right, via the app as well. So it's a CRUD. Okay, CRUD, but then you need to add 2 more PHP for that, which is the update and delete PHP scripts. Okay, but for now, I guess we're good here. We have our form. We have our query page for the home and about app. Okay, let's do one more thing before we end this lesson. Go to the index.css and the user data. We're going to go for opacity again. Let's try 75%. Then refresh. Okay, so we have it here. So at least we have a bit of color in that. Or we can do a 80% if you want it to be more readable. If I 90. Okay, but of course we can bold the names as well. Let's check the Bootstrap. It has a bold CSS class. Let's try this if it has. Yeah, font weight bold. Can use this one. And here, going to add a class here. Okay, as you can see, we're able to use double quote because we use single quote when we try to store this line of text and code to our array. And that's okay. Let's try to refresh this one. Let's try to remove it first, then okay, it seems not working. So what we're going to do, I'm going to style it here, and use font weight, then let's say bold. This is an inline adding of CSS style. Okay, so it's much readable. Now if you want to have a bit of a dynamic font size, you can do instead of the usual, you can have it here, font size. Okay, you can use the what to call this, EM font size, right? So let's say 1 EM. Let's try to check if how big is that. Okay, or sorry, 1.5. We'll do 1.5. Try it again. Okay, so that one is much bigger, right? So and it's much better for mobile applications because it's much easier to read. Okay, what we're going to do next is test it out. Form, about, then home. Okay, so there's no function for this one, but I guess we at least we have working app for this right now with that is able to communicate to the database. Okay, so let us make a bit of adjustments in preparation for the next lesson. What I'm going to do here is going to declare a function. Okay, so when you declare a function, declare a variable on the top of the JavaScript file, which is the index.js, you're declaring it globally so that the functions here at the bottom will be able to reuse that variable. Okay, so we're going to put it here, IP server is equals to none, and close it with a semicolon. And of course, what we're going to do here later on, or let's say localhost. Okay, localhost. Okay, so what we're going to do here is that we're going to declare a variable like the URL, and let's copy this one here, Okay, and we're going to replace this one by yeah, this one. We're going to remove this one first. Then we're going to modify the URL into URL plus that word. Okay, so we're going to concatenate the Ajax URL source from the one that we declared. The URL is equals to the location of the E3 project PHP file folder. We're going to do this I'm going to copy that one. I'm going to make it a global variable. Okay, so we can reuse it and remove this one here. And going to go back to create new user, and we're going to similarly to what we did there, plus sign, so that we can join the variable and the actual text and create one word. Okay, so we can test this one by refreshing our document here, so that if we're able to still access the data. Because what we're going to do on the next lesson is that we're going to create a dynamic link for our URL, because when we're going to build this as an app later on, we need to indicate the IP. Okay, the IP of the local host, so that we can connect to the database using the correct URL. Okay, so in the next lesson, we're going to create a basic form, where we'll be able to get the IP address of the server. Then after that, we're going to get the actual URL of the server and encode it on the app itself. Then from there, you'll be able to access your server with the correct IP address. So for now, I guess we're good for this lesson 5, and we'll be building the actual app on the lesson 6 after we do what we just discussed on how to get or set the IP address of the E3 project system. Okay, so thank you everyone, and hope you enjoy this lesson 5, and hope that as you follow the samples we have here, app your web app is now working. Okay, so thank you everyone, and always have a great day and stay safe.